The circulatory system is composed of the heart and the blood vasculature, the arteries and the veins. Arteries carry blood away from the heart, and veins carry blood back to the heart. Circulating blood supplies cells throughout the body with oxygen and removes waste carbon dioxide. Oxygen is absorbed into the bloodstream through tiny air sacs in the lungs called alveoli. As oxygen diffuses in, carbon dioxide moves out and is exhaled. The heart has 4 hollow chambers, the left and right ventricle and the left and right atrium. Each chamber has a different function. The right atrium receives oxygen-depleted blood and empties it into the right ventricle. This blood then flows to the lungs for gas exchange. Oxygenated blood from the lungs enters the left atrium and empties into the left ventricle. From there, it flows out of the heart into the arteries of systemic circulation to distribute oxygen throughout the body. The heart's conduction system regulates the electrical impulses that make the heart beat. An impulse begins in a bundle of nerve tissue called the sinoatrial or SA node. The impulse makes the atria contract, and blood empties into the ventricles. Next, the impulse travels to the atrioventricular or AV node. It passes through the bundle of His, the bundle branches, and the Purkinje fibers. As the impulse reaches the ventricles, it triggers a contraction there, and the heart ejects blood. Heart valves control the flow of blood through the heart by opening and closing the heart chambers in a coordinated sequence. The 2 valves located between the atria and the ventricles are called the tricuspid and mitral valves. These valves facilitate the flow of blood as it moves into the ventricles from the atria. The other 2 valves are the aortic and pulmonary semilunar valves. These valves ensure that blood exits the heart correctly. Each of the 4 valves is composed of flaps called leaflets or cusps, which prevent backflow of blood in the wrong direction. Ventricular fibrillation is an arrhythmia that occurs when the heart's electrical impulses become disrupted. The ventricles contract in rapid flutters, preventing the heart from pumping blood. Defibrillators are devices that deliver an electric shock. These shocks can restore normal heart rhythm. Normal functioning heart, each cardiac cycle ends with blood being fully pumped out of the ventricles. In patients with congestive heart failure, the heart's pumping action is compromised, and blood remains in the ventricles at the end of each cardiac cycle. The heart muscle becomes progressively less efficient as blood builds up in the chambers. The liver produces molecules called low-density lipoproteins, or LDLs, which transport cholesterol through the bloodstream. These particles can accumulate on the inner walls of arteries, creating lesions known as atherosclerotic plaques. As the plaque grows, normal blood flow through the artery is increasingly obstructed. A myocardial infarction, or heart attack, happens when blood flow to heart tissue is obstructed. This can occur due to buildup of plaque in the artery walls. Because oxygenated blood cannot reach part of the heart muscle, that muscle dies or is damaged, and the heart becomes weakened. Coronary artery disease develops as atherosclerotic plaques accumulate on the interior of coronary arteries. The arteries become increasingly blocked, compromising the flow of oxygen-rich blood to heart tissue. Pulmonary embolism is a complication of deep vein thrombosis, a condition in which a blood clot forms in a deep blood vessel, usually a vein in the leg. Part of the blood clot can break free and travel upwards through the veins of the body until it reaches the pulmonary circulation loop. When the clot becomes lodged in a pulmonary artery, it cuts off blood supply to part of the lung, damaging or destroying lung tissue. An ischemic stroke occurs when a clot forms in a partially blocked artery. Part of the clot breaks off and travels into the arteries supplying the brain. When the clot becomes lodged in an artery in the brain, it cuts off blood supply to part of the organ, destroying brain tissue and causing neurological damage. Another type of stroke, hemorrhagic stroke, occurs when an artery in the brain bursts, causing blood to flow into the brain. An electrocardiogram, or EKG, is a test that measures the waves of electrical activity of the heart as it beats. It may be used to find an underlying disorder, such as arrhythmia, or to investigate possible damage to the heart. Electrodes placed on the arms, legs, and chest register electrical signals produced by the heart, generating a pattern of waves that show depolarization and repolarization of heart muscle. This pattern is then compared to normal records and analyzed to determine the nature of the problem. Coronary angiography is a procedure used to investigate the condition of the blood vessels that supply the heart. A catheter is inserted into a vessel in the arm or leg, commonly the femoral artery, and passed upward into the vessels of the heart. A contrast agent is injected into the coronary vessels. X-ray images, called angiograms, show the contrasted regions and allow doctors to determine the condition of vessels. Angioplasty is performed to reopen arteries that have become clogged by plaque buildup. In this procedure, a catheter is passed into the obstructed space and a balloon is inflated to reopen the artery. A metal tube, called a stent, may be left in to keep the artery from closing again and allow for proper circulation. Coronary bypass surgery, a section is taken from a healthy blood vessel and used to create a detour around a blocked artery in the heart. The section is sutured between the coronary artery and the aorta. Once the section is in place, normal coronary circulation can resume, delivering oxygen to the heart tissues. Functioning of an aortic valve is critical to systemic circulation. Aortic valve replacement is a procedure used to replace an aortic valve that is hardened or blocked and can no longer function correctly. Replacement valve options include human or animal valves or mechanical valves. Valve replacement surgery can restore normal blood flow into the aorta.